Y-E-I-O-U. Hey, we got nice soft light. You check exposures?
I'm good. You ready?
Yeah. Let me suck my gut in.
As you wish.
Of our Moto Mexico adventure. We're going to be going through Trinity and telling you about what I'm packing, what I'm taking. I'm excited to show everything to you. This is going to be cool. So why don't we start around this side of the bike. If you'll come over this way, I'll just work from the front back and we'll talk about some of the different modifications I've done to the CB500X. This is a Honda CB500X. It's a 2013, nothing new or interesting or beefed up about it, except all the little accessories and changes that I've made. I get a lot of questions about my windscreen. This is the GV windscreen, and I've modified it with a couple of little standoffs here. You can see the little spacers, and the wind just flows beautifully over my head. While you're in here, I'll show you, made a little custom bracket here for my adventure accessories, on which my Zumo 390 GPS is attached. The light itself has been changed out to an LED bulb. Super bright, love it. Lots of clean light as opposed to the original halogen. Down even lower, you'll see the fog lights, the running lights. So those are also LEDs, nice and bright. Helps me be seen as well as illuminate the road for my failing eyesight. Most recent addition, I just put on the gaiters on the front forks. Those are pretty cool, help protect the fork seals while I'm on dusty roads down in Mexico. Should be kind of fun. Let's see, bark busters, some of the most important adventure modifications I've made. They do have an aluminum interior, so if I ever do go down, they'll protect my fingers and knuckles. But most importantly, of course, they protect against any brush as I'm driving through smaller little roads and so on. And now we have the phone accessory mount. So this is where my phone usually goes. It's right inside there, nice and gripped together, made by Ram Mount. And over here we have a quick little accessory I purchased from eBay. It has a dual USB outlet as well as a 12-volt outlet cigarette lighter adapter. It can be turned on and off from the switch, but I've actually got it wired directly through the options plug so that it turns on and off with the ignition key. And over on this side, I've got a little wired accessory. It's gone directly to the battery. That's an SAE plug that's used for charging the battery tender, and keeps the battery nice and optimized. And over on the right-hand side, we have a couple little accessories. This little guy helps to hold the throttle in place when I'm on a highway and I want to just lock in a certain speed. It's like a cheap poor man's cruise control. And then up here on top, we have the crank busters. And these are great. They just allow you to rest your wrist a little bit easier here, as opposed to always using the grip force from your wrist. All right, moving on down the bike, we have a brand new Cortec 12-liter tank bag. This thing is mounted using magnets, which is great. And you can buy this cheap shelving material at Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart, and that just helps to keep your bag from getting scratched. And the cool thing about this particular tank bag, and what I really was drawn to it for, is it turns into a backpack. So it has a stowaway backpack strap, and I can just throw it on my back and carry it with me and not have to worry about leaving it with my bike if I have to stop and go into a store or go hike for some accessory waterfall or something like that I want to check out. I can always carry that bag with me. And moving a little bit lower here, we have a couple of little wired accessories for heated gear. That's hot wired heated gear from Cycle Gear. And moving down the bike, straight on down, is a little accessory helmet lock that I've attached. That thing is great. It hides the helmet down and tucks it in close to the wheel well, and kind of puts it out of sight from most people's perspective, and of course locks it for security. Coming on back a little bit further, these are my GV Outback Trekker cases. These are the 37-liter cases. I love them to death. I know there's a lot of debate on whether soft luggage or hard luggage is more appropriate, but for me as a photographer, Hard luggage is much more appropriate because I can keep all of my electronics and camera gear in here, and it's a little bit more secure than having it in a padded case that somebody can come by with a razor blade and zip into. I did also have a GV top case that I had up here, but it just made the bike a little bit wonky at speeds. I just felt a little bit off balance, and so I no longer use a tank bag. It positions the weight too far back. It's no longer over the axle, it's behind the axle, and it's just a little bit too high for me. So I just use that for a nice place to carry my other accessories, but not a big top box. And hidden underneath the GV accessory, the GV bags, are these old tool tubes. These are basically tool tubes from a factory supply store that farmers and people like that often store their tractor manuals, instruction manuals in. They're waterproof and they're cheap and made out of ABS plastic, and you can just bolt them to the inside using accessories from Lowe's or Home Depot. I carry my waterproof jacket in one and my waterproof pants in the other, so I always have them with me even if I don't have my panniers with me. And on this side we do have a 2-liter accessory gas can bolted onto the GV. It's also a GV product. And if you flip back over to this side, I have a couple of little GV water cans holders. So I'll have a couple of hydro flasks with me. Hydro flasks, of course, hold their water temperature even without ice or anything like that with them. So I'll have a couple of those in me as I go. Speaking of water, I will definitely be carrying my Camelback. So I'll have a Camelback that I ride with at all times. When you're on a motorcycle, it's kind of hard to grab a drink from your sippy cup as it is in your car. So I ride with a Camelback, and that way I can always just pull the little hose up into my mouth. You do tend to get a little bit more dehydrated on a motorcycle than you do in a car because that wind is constantly whipping past your skin. So that Camelback is very, very important for safety and to make sure that you stay hydrated all day long. And I'll show you down here a couple more important accessories. These are some new horns I installed. This was actually some of the first accessories I put onto the bike. They do blast a lot louder to make sure that I'm heard when I need to. And then right below them is a beautiful skid plate by Moto. Love this thing. It's one of my favorite accessories. Protects the engine, protects the oil filter, and allows me to go over some rougher stuff. All right, so those are the accessories that I've mounted to Trinity, and next, stay tuned for what I'll be carrying in these beautiful panniers.